Live stream, got it?
Yeah.
Hello,
great.
everybody. Right, so how many of you are familiar with English for Africa, the training center, the teacher training center?
No, that's
Okay.
like the first time I hear.
All right, one person, Gareth Mohammed is familiar with it. Anyone else? No, okay, that means that we need to invest in marketing, basically. So we've been around for a while in Morocco. We train teachers of English as a foreign language. We have several different products that we offer for teacher training. The biggest product and the best one, just to be completely honest, is the CELTA course. The CELTA course is a Cambridge certificate in teaching English as a foreign language, and I'll go into detail about its components and the advantages of the course. There are other options which are a little bit less time and money expensive, so they require less investment in time and money, such as the TKT course as well. And we're planning to launch an English for Africa TEFL course within the next couple of months also. We also do the Delta, so Delta preparation for Module 1. You can do it with us starting next spring, inshallah. And Module 2 as well. We're planning to launch the first course in the spring of 2023. So if my understanding is correct, we are all here because we do online teaching. Is that correct?
Right.
Right. We do teaching, and some are willing to get started.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you're teaching online, I know people who make a lot of money teaching online. And they're good teachers, but that's not why they make a lot of money teaching online. They make a lot of money teaching online because they're good marketers. They're good at marketing themselves and making themselves seem like really good teachers. Yeah. So I'm kind of compulsively honest. You can make a lot of money without any certification or anything at all, just by being good at marketing. That said, if you want to do a good job, or if you want to work with other companies, certification is very useful. So marketing yourself as an online teacher does cost money. You have to invest, and it requires quite a bit of know-how. If you don't have those two things, knowledge and know-how, so I'm talking about marketing knowledge and know-how, you'll probably end up working for a third-party company as an online teacher. And pay can be quite good there as well. But most of these companies do require teachers to have, or at least the ones that pay better, require teachers to have some kind of certification. And there is a little bit of quality control. So they expect you to be able to do a good job. And the CELTA course is very good at ticking both boxes. So it'll get you an internationally recognized certificate, and it will also make you much better at doing your job. Because the one thing that Cambridge got right with the CELTA course is that it works. People go through the course and they come out much better teachers at the end. So what I'm planning to do now is I'm going to talk you through the CELTA course itself, its components, how it works, and then I'll start taking your questions about all of these topics, okay?
Right, yeah.
All right, so the CELTA course is now offered online. It used to be offered only face-to-face. So like I said, we have the online option, but you also have the mixed mode option. And if you're in Morocco, this might be interesting to you. It's a mode where you learn how to teach both online and face-to-face. The CELTA is made up of two main components. The two components are input and teaching practice. Input is where you, the candidates, are learning about the theory and the practice of teaching English as a foreign language. And this is where you're being trained directly by your trainers. If you're taking the online course, the training sessions take place here. on Zoom with your trainer. You work together on a number of different topics, like the really essential ones, such as lesson planning, but also things like classroom management, error correction, using different types of resources, including online resources, phonetics, phonology, grammar, etc. This is a part of the course where you're directly in contact with your CELTA trainers. By the way, your CELTA trainers, and this is part of the reason the CELTA course is more expensive than other courses, your CELTA trainers are official and officially recognized CELTA trainers. It's quite a long and difficult process to become a CELTA trainer. And they are vetted by Cambridge assessors. So when you have a CELTA trainer in front of you, they're not all of the same quality, but they have all been trained to be CELTA trainers, and they've followed some intensive training to do so. So that's one major component of the course, it's input. The other major component of the course is teaching practice. The teaching practice is one of the things that sets the CELTA course apart from other TEFL courses. And by the way, the CELTA is a TEFL course. And I'm saying this just because there's a lot of confusion out there, I find, about what exactly a TEFL course is. And people writing to me at our center and saying, oh, we just want a TEFL course. We don't want a CELTA. So the CELTA is a TEFL course. A TEFL course is just any course where you have, where you're teaching people to teach English as a foreign language. It just happens to be that the CELTA is the best CELTA course. I'm sorry, CELTA is the best TEFL course in the world. To be clear, the Trinity Cert TESOL is also a high quality course, and they're both at the same level with regards to OFQUAL, which is the Office of Educational Quality Certificates in the UK at level 5. Sorry, I got sidetracked for a second. Let's get back to teaching practice. When you're on a CELTA course, you have to teach for 6 hours of assessed teaching practice. What that means is, for online purposes, you are with your fellow candidates and real students. You're not teaching other teachers, you're teaching real students online in exactly this environment. We run part-time courses. Most of these courses are part-time. You end up teaching once per week when the course gets into gear. So you spend most of your week planning, not most of your week, I'm exaggerating. You have a week to plan for your next lesson, but people do spend upwards of 3, 4, 5 hours researching and planning a 45-minute lesson when they're on the CELTA course. So like I said, 6 hours of teaching practice set up here on Zoom, watched by the other candidates. So when you're teaching, the other candidates are watching you and you are watching them teach as well. And your trainer, of course, is watching everything. And afterwards, you get oral feedback from your trainer and from the other participants. And this is what makes it a particularly enriching experience. Teaching English, whether it's online or elsewhere, can be very solitary. Teachers teach alone. And in our careers, we don't have the opportunity to be observed and assessed, and especially not at the level that you were observed and assessed on a CELTA course, where feedback can be extremely detailed and extremely useful, and obviously very catered to the individual teacher. So we don't just say good lesson, bad lesson. We say this is what worked for you, and given your strengths as a teacher, this is what you should work on improving. Given your weaknesses, this is what you need to stop doing. It's not one size fits all by any stretch of the imagination. Just to give you an idea, if you teach a 45-minute lesson, we spend about 15 to 20 minutes talking just about your lesson with your colleagues. So that's quite a bit of feedback to take on board, in addition to the written feedback. Another really important aspect of teaching practice is lesson planning. Now, I mentioned how we have input sessions on lesson planning, but most of what the candidates learn on a CELTA course with regards to lesson planning, they learn in lesson planning sessions. So I mentioned earlier that you teach from 1 week to the next. Similarly, each week, along with your trainer and the other candidates, you plan next week's lesson. So we give you the lesson materials, we tell you what your lesson name is going to be, and we talk you through what your lesson is going to look like. In other words, we plan the lesson with you online. If we have, and so you teach a total of 8 times assessed on a CELTA course. So that's 8 times that your trainer will sit with you and the other candidates and plan your lesson. But if you consider that there are between 3 and 6 other people in your teaching practice group, that means that in a single course, you attend, let me do the math, somewhere between 20 and 50 lesson planning sessions. So each lesson gets planned individually. So you're planning a total of 50 lessons with an expert in teaching English as a foreign language. And everything gets recorded as well. So if you're interested in watching these lesson planning sessions and or your teaching practice again to learn more from it, you definitely have the ability to do so. Once you teach, you get feedback, written and oral. You get a grade of 2 standard or not to standard. And at the end of the course, you get a certificate, which is recognized worldwide and which is actually gaining in recognition. Unfortunately, in McNass, which is where we're located, nobody knows what the CELTA is, right? I like McNass. It's a nice city. And if any of you are from McNass, come visit us. It's not the most cosmopolitan city in Morocco. In places like Rabat, Casablanca, even Marrakesh and Tangier, the CELTA is gaining in recognition. People are aware of the fact that a CELTA-trained teacher is not like a teacher who has not received training on the CELTA course. I'm personally a very open-minded person, I hope. And when I interview teachers to work at our center, which we opened here in McNass just a couple of months ago, I didn't require them to have a CELTA. But I just wasn't satisfied, you know. It's like, oh my God, I can't let my students have these teachers who don't know like how to plan a lesson the way I want it to be planned. To training, there are lots of teachers without a CELTA who are really good. And I worked as a teacher for, I'm going to say 15 years without any training whatsoever. But you know, I mean, yeah, without any training whatsoever. Yeah, don't tell anybody that though. It's just getting live streamed. I guess everybody knows that now. But the training does make a difference, let me promise you. On the international front though, so if you leave Morocco, I'm hoping that you don't leave Morocco, recognition for the CELTA course is very widespread and is increasing in particular in North America and in China. And once again, if you're teaching online, from Morocco or from wherever you are, a lot of the language schools that are willing to hire online teachers, especially if they're coming from countries without a tradition in teaching English as a foreign language. We don't have a tradition of teaching English as a foreign language in Morocco. This tradition exists in other countries, in Europe, in the Middle East, and even Southeast Asia. If you're coming from a place like where we are, it's a little bit more difficult to have credibility with these schools if you don't have a certificate which is internationally recognized. I am tired of speaking. I'm going to drink some water and wait for some questions. Okay?
Welcome. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Take your time.
All right. Thank you, Sir Mohammed. That was very interesting talk, and you mentioned some really great ideas. And we're giving the floor to teachers. If you have any questions for Mr. Mohammed, please do ask. And I'm sure this is going to give you plenty of ideas and information about the CELTA, which is, it's really interesting, and we all want it.
Yeah.
Just
Do
the-
you? Well, then
hoping the
get it, man.
prices are not so high.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I mean, we don't
You know, the
make,
first question that I
Yeah.
personally have to Muhammad is how
Yeah.
much?
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
very good question, Mohammed. So
Yeah.
let me tell you, the reason that we even are here in Morocco, English for Africa, the reason it exists,
Yeah.
it's not because I wanted to make money. It's because, so I was working as a CELTA trainer in Singapore with the British Council. And I realized after a couple of years there that the teachers I was training, they were benefiting, they were getting trained, they were improving. But the marginal difference I was making to Singapore as a country was small compared to the impact that I could make in Morocco or other places, because Morocco is a place where we don't have these kinds of training opportunities. And so the reason we're here is not so that we can make money from teachers. It's because we want to help improve the quality of language teaching in Morocco. That said, we have a course for two reasons. One is because Cambridge has increased the price it asks us for each candidate. And the reason it's done this is because it wants to increase, rather decrease the competitive advantage of centers that only exist online. So taking an online CELTA course has become a lot more expensive over the past 4 months since they instituted their new prices. And the other reason is because, like I said, trainers are not cheap. And they're not cheap because they have to be very high quality trainers. They have to get very, very intensively trained. And we have to pay international costs for the train. You know, there's one price for a trainer, whether that trainer is working in the UK or Japan or Morocco or Tunisia. It doesn't make any difference. So we're kind of stuck with our prices. Okay, so to answer your question after that preamble, the price for the fully online course is 13,000 dirhams. Everything included from the interview at the beginning of the course and the application process, all the way to receiving the certificate in your mailbox at your home. Thank you for writing that down, Mohammed Nasiri. Thank you.
That makes sense. Thank you very much, Mohammed.
There are cheaper options, as I mentioned, but if you can afford the CELTA, let me put it differently. If you're sure you want to teach English to be your career, do the CELTA. It'll change everything for you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. They said that makes sense and everything is clear. So, Rafi, I think you have a question to Mohammed, right?
Yeah, I have actually two questions. First question is,
all right, that's good.
Are you asking me to deposit the whole sum of money at once before you start the training? And do you take any prior exam before start joining the training at the CELTA?
So those are two very good questions. Well, we do have a payment plan option for the CELTA course. So we don't require full payment before you start the course. We do require a deposit of at least 1/3 of the course fee. The rest of the course fee needs to be paid before the course ends. If you're joining a part-time course, that gives you between 2 and 3 months to complete the payment.
All right.
As for your second question, it is the responsibility of CELTA training centers to vet candidates and to make sure that they are apt to take part in the CELTA course. So there is no test per se. However, there is a process that involves an application form, a pre-interview task. Now, the pre-interview task focuses mainly on language awareness, and finally, an interview which takes place online. Or if you are in or near McNass, you can come and take the interview with us here in McNass. And by the end of this process, we are able to determine whether it's a good idea for you to take the course or not. We aim to get as many candidates onto the course as possible, but we will not take a candidate who we think is too weak or is too, who doesn't have a sufficient amount of self and language awareness to pass the course.
Yes, got it. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Thank
And
you
how
very much.
about the length
Yes,
of the training, Si Mohammed? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
The length, I mean, how much time does it take to complete the CELTA?
So it depends on the format that you choose. And actually, I don't see your name. Abdurrafia. Yeah, so Abdurrafia, it depends on the format. I mentioned that we have fully online and mixed modes, but we also have a face-to-face intensive option. Now, the fully online course usually runs over 11 weeks. So like I said, that's close to 3 months. Most of the course is, I'm sorry, that's not, a lot of the input, not all of it, but most of the input. Remember I mentioned there's 2 components, input and teaching practice. Most of the teaching practice is asynchronous, so you can organize your time as you choose. However, you have synchronous online sessions on Saturdays, lasting all day, during which you have both teaching practice and input.
Thanks.
Any questions guys, regarding CELTA before Great Mr. Umi? Great. And session. All right, guys. So there was a question. I think, of course, you have already answered this question. Is that CELTA course doesn't require taking a certain exam at the end, right? It's just
so no, the exam at the end. There's no. You're right. There's no exam at the end. Assessment is continuous and based on 2 components: assignments and teaching practice. And that's how we assess you. I wrote a blog post that just was posted this morning on how to, on grades on the CELTA course. So there's pass, pass B, and pass A. Read the blog because it's quite important. People have a lot of misconceptions about the grades on the CELTA course.
one question, Mr. Amir, great. It has been raised by some participants, whether a certain certificate requires another grade and so on. We would like to ask about the Delta 2 grade. So does Delta require to have a CELTA, or you can just go directly for Delta? When my recommendation was to go gradually, if you manage to get to certain TEFL. But I think TEFL is, teachers, we got teachers who have 10 years experience or more. So I recommend them to go directly for CELTA, right? To get well prepared for Delta if Delta doesn't require.
So when you're saying TEFL, I assume you mean non-CELTA TEFL courses, because like I said before, CELTA is a TEFL course. Okay. You don't need to take another course to take the CELTA. If you're not sure, or if you're not feeling confident, you can take the teaching knowledge test, which will, and we do run a preparation course, and we offer the teaching knowledge test, the Cambridge Teaching Knowledge Test at our center in McNass. The training course, the preparation course is online, and that lays the groundwork for a lot of what you're going to learn on the CELTA. You can obviously go straight for your CELTA, and we will tell you at the interview if you are qualified, if we feel that you are good enough to take the course. The CELTA is a good stepping stone towards the Delta. I took the Delta without ever I've never taken a CELTA personally, and I went straight for the Delta. I advise against it because the pass rate on the Delta is low. Yeah, it's not, you don't stand a good chance when you start the Delta. I know many very, very good teachers who've had to take certain modules of the Delta course several times in order to get through it. The CELTA and the Delta are connected. How? In terms of what we expect, what your trainers and what Cambridge expects you to do in the classroom. A lot of the skills that you learn on the CELTA course are vital on the Delta, and the knowledge as well. So there's no, it isn't compulsory. There's no requirement to take the delta before you take the CELTA. I strongly advise that you do, however.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Okay. So if there are no more questions, Mohammed, great Nasiri, you can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah. If there are any questions, yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your presence here, and we wish
Thank you,
to
Sir Mohammed.
Lots.
upcoming. Thank you. Great, and see you
Have a
soon.
nice day.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, سيب الواحد
Yeah. Okay. So shall we move on to the next, the last maybe great section here, great, which has to do with the online platforms. We have already started discussing the talking about the online conferencing software and so on that we need for teaching online. Okay, now I think it's clear now. Okay, so we right. Okay, so this is for Zoom. If you don't have any question, we may great discuss this, which software is better and so on. Zoom may not be great, the good choice, great, the best choice for every profile, every learner, right? Sometimes I also use Skype, right? Especially with kids, right? Kids sometimes they like Skype because of the lots of emojis that you got there. You can teach a lot of vocabulary just using Skype and using the search bot to search for emojis, great, which are available there, great, with their food, drink, sports, means of transport, everything, many emotions, and you can teach a lot using Skype, especially when it comes to kids. But I prefer Zoom because,
Just Sir Rashid, regarding Zoom payment, I mean, if you want to pay monthly for Zoom, is this possible? You said this before. As you can see here, per year license there.
Yeah, you can buy a license, right, and subscribe to the Pro plan, and you can pay monthly, right? Automatically, you can pay monthly, right? Around $90, right? Go $20. Let's say
$14.
سيب الواحد.
$20.
I'm using the Pro version with the $14 per month.
Right.
That's not.
Just
right.
because.
This is at the beginning, actually, yes, right. This is something very important that you draw my attention to. Okay, so at the beginning, it was close to $20 at the beginning, right? But it happens to me, great, few months ago. I was about to stop the subscription plan because there was no much work and so on. So when I prompt to stop, let's say this plan, right? They another was prompt is that they offer to leave it to me, right? To just like I say. So now I think it's a cheap.
سيب الواحد. The voice was not clear. What did you say? The last idea? Could you repeat, please?
I said that at the beginning, right, when I started this plan, this Pro plan, it was about $90, right? Let me give you the exact to be the exact price and the monthly payments. The total is 149, right? Okay,
yeah.
so
That's 1,000. That's 1,490.
It's actually the dollar is up. It's more than that actually.
More.
Yeah.
It's like 2,000 dirhams.
dollar has increased right now, right? It's good to.
It's better that we quit.
Unfortunately.
What about Skype? Is it available for free?
It was 14.99, guys. Yes, it's 14.99, right, for the monthly payment, and it has decreased, right? When I tried to to end up, let's see the plan and so on, they provide me an offer, right? They say if you stay, we will leave it to you just for 7.49. Now
What
it's
about Skype, Said Wahed? Is it available for free?
Skype. There is a free version and there is one for business, and that one for business again, there are subscriptions that you have to. All right. Yeah. Of course, this is how they go. You know, most of these companies and so on, guys. They offer a free plan, guys. You know, just to get you to know their increase their clients, and they've got paid plans, of course, for business. For
And they blow your minds with money, with more prices.
I got to choose for the best option for you. Good. That's all, right? It's recommended, especially when you have really, there is an income and there are students, your business is growing. It's good to start with the pro plan. Otherwise, if you don't have any, right, you just go for Skype or, as we say, Google Meet but it depends again on the student's choice, because some students, especially from Saudi Arabia, would prefer Zoom to any other great, conferencing software, right? So you got to be familiar with the most,
Said Wahed, what about teaching students here in Morocco? I mean, when you, for example, working on your own without, committing to any company. So, I mean, you can choose your platform